there. I think we've got a couple of slides, haven't we, in terms of all the screenshots to be able to show it here. So
Go for it.
let's just have a look here. So I'm just going in now. First and foremost, this is into just your people feel very familiar with, obviously, the your portal listing on here. So what do we need to go from here then, Mike?
Basically, how simple it is to send a lead in if you're a member of the public. So if you were to go to the request details button at the bottom, Simon, if you just click the green bar, click it once, click it twice. You might need to populate it, Simon. So just put your name and stuff like that. But if you sent one recently, all that will be pre-populated.
Yeah.
So it's remarkably easy to do.
See, I'm not on the property on the ladder enough, am I?
No, clearly not.
There we go. That's it, UK there. I'm going to get loads of stalkers now. So you just send that there?
Yeah, click send.
Oh,
right move are getting fussy.
Yeah, as if they care. Right, has that done it? There we go. What's going on there? Oh God, they're trying to get me. I'll just send that there. There we are. I've just annoyed all of the Manchester ones. Yes, that's fine. Okay. So that's sent through that request then, yeah?
Yeah. So because we know your name and which property you're inquiring about, in your inbox of that email account, you've just received an email. There's a second or two's delay, but you should have it by now.
I've got it in.
There you go. So, dear Mr. Whale, many thanks for your inquiry about 123 Pigeon Street. Please click on the link to, answer a few more questions, and that takes you through to our form. And the tone of voice in the initial message is completely customizable, and the actual questions themselves completely customizable as well.
Okay, and is that on the next tab we were talking about?
So yeah, that's an insight into one of our offices. So just for context, the Telford Lettings branch has got about 10 houses to let at any one point in time. We've got one member of staff who deals with front-end lettings. So we've turned, forgive my maths, but we'll call it 700 and something leads into 200 completed forms.
And that's such a different volume of manageability, isn't it? That's just so much changes that out that you would, and many people do, just throw your hands in the air on the top figures there, but down below you've got the ability to deal with that.
Yeah, the problem that agents have really is because there's so many leads coming in the top, which is great. They don't have the time to deal with the hot ones which are at the bottom because they're too busy dealing with inquiries rather than actually letting houses. So this, from a workload point of view, it's the 80-20 principle really. And Will, and his name is Will, he actually gets to focus his time on renting houses as opposed to leaving messages with folk.
And I'm guessing there's got to be there's all sorts of different reasons for wanting to do this, but actually a real soft benefit here is just how much happier your staff are going to be, aren't they?
Yeah, because they're not being waterboarded with leads. I mean, if your job description was to send 1,000 emails a month that very few people respond to, it's not a great career prospect. And in the nicest possible way, when you go to your boss for a raise, it's quite difficult for them to agree with you if there's no money to back it up from the results side of things. So, we can actually get our guys and girls focused on the £100 tasks rather than the £10 tasks, really.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? That most dollar productive of activities as well, is being able to do that. Okay, cool. And what's on the next one?
So that gives you an idea of our phone channel. So on the email side of things, Leon assumed me for saying this, but it's quite easy to copy, really. But on the telephone side of things, we feel this is our real USP. And it was perhaps, the insight that we had as frontline agents when looking in the back end of the portals in terms of the volume of leads. We were probably getting 2 emails for every 1 phone call. So an email is relatively straightforward because they email you, you email them back, and if they don't respond, well, that's in old money of agency. But on the letting side of things, the rental phone calls take significantly longer than the sales calls do. So we've set up the same system again where we've integrated the agent response forms with the telephone. Basically, we've converted in the last 30 days, as you can see there, 353 phone calls have been converted straight into 69 completed forms. And again, we've only got about 10 houses to let. So that is a huge time saving. And like I say, the serious applicants get a far better customer service because we get straight back to them. Again, the staff aren't just fielding inane calls. And from a higher level point of view, as a business owner, it's a hell of a lot of shoe leather we've saved.
Is there one of the most demonstrable points then because of that, and it stops the teams from being purely reactive to getting some time back to being able to be proactive and more, more constructive, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with my not Dighton hat on, my personal feeling is that whilst the market has been very good for everybody, we've massively outperformed it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Getting a bigger piece of the pie is the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let me just close that down there, and then we've got this reporting, which is, I take it, in the back office part of the system, is it?
Correct. Yeah. So, Leon, you talk about where we're at to with this.
Yes. So as part of people's accounts, we store key data, and basically we track how many leads are coming through from the different portals, and then the simple calculation of how many people are converting the forms. It's a good estimate, or mark in the sand, to say what a good lead is.
Yeah.
And in this example, so this is real data from Not Dighton's Telford office. It brings a bit of clarity to what you're actually getting from the portals. So you can see here that Rightmove is converting at 30%.
Yeah.
And with other agents, we see other similar statistics around that area. Zoopla can be similar as well. But the interesting fact is with on the market, the fact that it's converting at between 13 to 18%. We see a range depending on months, lots of elements there. But the cost comparison between the portals, it changes your focus on what you're getting from each. I mean, Mike, you can probably talk more about in terms of cost.
Yeah, I've changed my tune on the market, because before we had agent response, it was literally a 13% chance when a lead came through that actually you could do anything with it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if you look at the actual volume of leads, they kind of level pegged with Rightmove, which is great. But now I don't have to spend any excess shoe leather chasing the rubbish ones. So if you start doing the maths in terms of, yes, on the market only converts at, say, half the rate that Rightmove does, but it's a quarter of the cost as well. And because we've automated the front end, for the sake of argument, a Rightmove lead's costing me a tenner, but an on the market one's only costing me a fiver now. So it starts to make sense.
It would really stop you, wouldn't it, just questioning your gut feel on this, because your staff members, I'm guessing, if they were coming in this space, is broadly speaking, again, the same from Rightmove and OTM, so there's everything else. But as you said, at their core, they would say actually a few of those are, a large number of those are wasted. But what that's showing is there's still obviously the gold nuggets in there, the Glengarry, Glen Ross leads, as it were, locked away. And as long as you can prioritise getting to them again, you've got a really powerful solution.
Spot on, absolutely. Everybody wins.
How is this? I'm just totally off there. This is just for portals. Can you do it from other digital sources as well? There should be no reason why you couldn't do it from other digital sources at all, is there?
Yeah, so we work with agents' websites as well, if that's what you mean. And yeah.
But I was just thinking as well, if they did campaigns that, I don't know, landing pages and things like that, they could, essentially anything that is a web page, you said portal, their own website or landing page could be subjected to the same, obviously, service that you're providing here with agent response.
Yeah, so we have special links that we give to customers so they can link it into their website and other campaigns, social media campaigns, things like that, so that everyone's then flow through the same process and they're able to have this balanced automation to pull out those golden leads.
Yeah, so this whole reporting thing really just twists that ROI argument slightly round on its head, doesn't it, from what the raw stats would have told you originally?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The interesting point in terms of the big data that we've got is the actual agent's own website is the number one. That's where the best leads come from. And there's a lot of trade press, as we were discussing earlier, in terms of agents and using their data. Everything that we've got supports that as well. So the agent's website, that's where it's at, really.
The agent website companies knocking on your door tomorrow, Mike, for these anonymized stats. That's good. Well, and it's only what all of us kind of suspected, again, gut feel thought, wasn't it? But you're able to put context around that. And as we all know, the key to marketing is doubling down on the bits that are giving you actual extra value. So with that extra information in hand, make your website as good as it can possibly be, and probably invest a bit more into SEO and the other ways of making more stuff hit it.
Spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. And then we've got here, this is one of the forms, I take it.
Yeah, so this is on the sales side of things. So this is one of the forms. So the lettings form, people can go to the Knock Darting website, to be fair, and download one of the lettings forms. But the plumbing is basically there. So with what we built on the lettings, I said to Leon, look, come on, Leon, surely we can do something with the sales in one of our weekly meetings. So again, the questions are all like, it's a Julian O'Dell training script. This is,
you can see it in the data, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in the process of building some deeper integrations with this. So for instance, if you start filling it out, Simon, because it won't let you onto the next page. So if you say, how soon you're thinking of moving, so if you click that,
I'm going to be hot.
Then if you're an investor, well, that's great to know, because we run a lettings business, so I'd like to put you into that lead nurture. If you're a developer, grand, we do land and new homes, so we'd like to talk to you about that. And we send them on that journey. Again, first-time buyers, growing families, there's loads of referral options in there, financial services, conveying, etc. If you're a member of RAN, if you're relocating, well, there's a RAN lead for you, another. So if we go on to the next page, this is where we
just
see.
By there,
yeah. Click on number 2. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. So what's the situation with your own property? So all the solid questions. It's interesting, actually, if you ever do a mystery shop, it's amazing how brief the phone calls are, funnily enough. And I had a relatively senior on the market person talking to me at Knock Dighton, and he was blown away by the amount of time our staff spent on the phone. It was like double what the industry average was. But it wasn't that long, if I'm honest. So I think from a business owner's point of view, making sure that all the leads are properly qualified is quite a challenge, because everybody is so busy. Yeah. So within this, we're asking them if they need a mortgage. We're asking them if they need a solicitor. We're asking them whether they're a landlord or not, a la Stephen Brown.
Yeah.
So, and with our deeper integrations, if they click the right buttons, this is our roadmap, then they can be sent on the right journey. And our guys and girls on the front line, it's a really simple conversation, because it says very clearly here that Simon Well needs a mortgage. So that'll be a large part of our conversation when we give you a ring and actually get you qualified.
Just to be clear, that certainly is my home in Manchester before your team start trying to get me.
Not looking to downsize yet, are you, Simon? So.
Okay.
And then it's mandatory fields, as you can see, so you wouldn't be able to get on page 3. Yeah. So we as a business, and by that I mean with my Knock Dighton hat on, we've set ourselves a target of 10 to 15% of all our revenue coming from referrals. And we incentivize our staff to get referrals, and we incentivize them quite well. But they've got the easiest job in the world, really, because I think if you go on to the next slide, I've got some stats there.
This one here, yeah?
Yeah, you got it. So here's one of our office which had, say, 250 leads have come in on the sales side of things, and 164. So when we're talking about lettings, it's about keeping perhaps 80% of the people out.
Yes.
On the sales, I want 100% of them in if I can.
Yeah.
And 164 of them have said, look, many thanks for the inquiry. It's all gone into the CRM, but actually, I'm more than happy to answer more questions if I can get on your priority list. Yeah. So as you can see, from a target's point of view, our Ludlow office has no problem getting financial services and conveyancing leads, because they've got 164 of them there, and they haven't spoken to anyone yet.
Yeah, it's a wonderful human emotion around scarcity, isn't there? And just kind of feeling like you've got to do it. And what is that? I mean, that's an extremely high percentage of those as well, isn't it? As you said,
Yeah.
so you don't want to be losing them off there. And arguably, still the other ones who haven't done that probably would have just been wasting your time anyway.
Yeah, but the original lead will still go through to the CRM, so they'd still be dealt with.
Yeah.
But the ones who would fill in the additional form on the sales side, we've got a much richer information about
Yes.
them, and we can have a much more sensible conversation about what your actual situation is. And if it says you've already got a mortgage but you haven't got a solicitor yet, well, we can focus. I don't need to spend too much time qualifying the mortgage side of things because I know the answer. But let's find out more about the solicitor. So, oh yes, well, we can recommend that for you. Oh, that's really useful. Thank you.
And the thing that pisses people off a lot, isn't it, is where they keep filling in information time and time again, and it never seems to be remembered and never action. So yes, okay, you've filled in this information, which takes a few seconds extra, but actually it does that whole proactive point of being able to deliver that better level of customer service is what's coming into play here.
Spot on, yeah. So from my philosophy point of view, I mean, with my Knockdown hat on, we won double gold in the EA Masters for both sales and lettings very recently. So we take this really seriously. So everything we're gearing towards is like raising standards and empowering the negotiators to do a good job. And by having better quality information rather than just the first and last name, we can have a much better conversation with people and just a better agency for it, really.
Excellent. And we've spoken about this on other panel shows, haven't we, Mike? And as I said right at the beginning, what I love about this is this hasn't happened in an ivory tower. This has happened, at the cold face of what's going on in the offices, and that solution has come out. So it's that kind of it's that PropTech 3.0, isn't it, in terms of agents solving their own needs. Their own challenges. So whether that's you here or it's Christian Byfield and his depository, and all these businesses that are coming around, having being able to find wonderful people like Leon here that can actually help out and deliver that, it's quite an exciting period, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it, Leon? Because I come with problems, and Leon is like, well, I wasn't really aware that was a problem, but if you want it solving, these are the building blocks you need. So it works rather well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, me and Mike have worked together for nearly 10 years now on various different projects, and it's good from our side, working together, creating a solution that answers the real need rather than just the perceived need, and then being able to add to that journey.
But that would have been so awkward there, Leon, if you'd said there it's been really difficult working with him. That would have been, it would have made great TV.
I'll tell you that after the show.
I like the idea that Mike walks through the door and then gives you a club around the head. Okay, no, that's absolutely great in terms of there. So if we go on to the next slide. So this is again, I think, one of the key features you were talking about, wasn't it, guys? That you've gone down, like many people are looking at the moment. There's an absolutely monster out there in the wider tech world called Zapier, if I'm saying it, I don't know if I was saying that one right, that has formed out of what we will still recognise in our little world of estate agency, with how the bloody hell do you get things integrating with each other? And as far as I can see, they've made the best stab at it. So am I right in thinking that your thinking is by working with them and providing the integration, anyone then that has Zapier integrations can just hook into what you want?
Yeah, exactly. And it takes minutes to do integrations, really. And for me, I think, as I alluded to earlier, there's a lot in the trade with regards to agents using their data. And one of the biggest challenges agents have got is the data goes into their CRM and they're stumped in terms of how they get it out. Because CRMs aren't necessarily the best marketing platforms. So whether you can pick your poison, really, whether that's kind of MailChimp on the one end of the spectrum, all the way up to kind of HubSpot or something similar on the other. You can just plug it in, off we go, and all of a sudden, you've got access to your own data for your marketing campaigns and such like. So it's really simple, and we're building more triggers as we go. And what it's done for us is, if we can think it, we can now build it. And that's almost as a layperson, really, because Zapier is so simple and intuitive to use.
And so that comes from the biggest monster of all out there in the CRM world, the likes of Salesforce, who again have standard Zapier integrations, right through to people ourselves, or the good people down at Desres, who have, they had their own open APIs, but they realized that integrating with Zapier as well gave a whole load more scope, didn't it?
Spot on. Yeah. So there's over 3,000 different apps in Zapier alone. So, if I rang Leon and said, right, Leon, can you integrate with all 3,000 of those? It'd take a decade to even do the first like 10%. So the fact that at the click of a button, pick your poison, it's up to you, off we go. Fantastic. Great.
That's absolutely great. And what does it give you then, I suppose, Leon, as well, going forwards? Does that I suppose then that all your coding then delivers actual proper enhancements, what an agent would have, rather than, what in the past it would have had to have been around integration. This kind of absolves you of a large degree of that responsibility, doesn't it?
I think it just opens it up. As Mike said, it just gives freedom to the agents to access and work with their data to do more with it if they choose to, and for that integration to be a simple process rather than weeks of planning and meetings and technical jargon. It simplifies the whole process.
Excellent. Good. Very exciting. And then I think we got and this was the buyer and seller's property information one. So talk us through what we're looking at here, Mike.
Yeah, so everything you've seen so far, we can sell you today. This we can't. This is our kind of roadmap for our next stages, because again, the plumbing's basically there. If you've read Atul Gawande's checklist manifesto, everything's a checklist, really, isn't it?
Yes.
And as the forms, we've effectively turned all the forms into checklists. So if I'm going to get on my little high horse about raising standards in agency, I think there's all the problems in the UK property market are pretty straightforward, and they could be solved with a relatively short A4 sheet of paper and the Prime Minister signing it, really. But that's never going to happen. So I think we as agents can solve 80% of the problem. I think trying to solve 100% of the problem is a recipe for disaster. But the two things that we can control as agents is, first of all, nothing hits the portals, marketing, anything, until you've filled out all the paperwork, which you've done digitally, as far as, the BASPI form, so buyers, sellers, property information form, which is all of the questions that, any reasonable person would and should know about their own property, or indeed may even ask if they're purchasing another. So from a customer experience point of view, it's kind of lose-lose at the minute, because the typical viewing, a member of the public comes, they meet the agent, they ask them simple questions, the agent doesn't know the answers, the member of the public goes, well, he doesn't know anything, why are they getting paid so much money? Everybody loses, really. Whereas if the agent's in a position, actually, we've got all the information, and I'll send you the link, it's on the website, wherever we need to store it, there we go. And also you've got your vendors who are a little bit more invested, a little bit more serious, and they've got all the answers to the questions when they get to the legals stage, rather than suddenly doing all the paperwork, 6 weeks after the contract got sent out, and the sales memo. So we, as a bit with my knocked item hat on, we're in the process of insisting that nothing hits the marketing until we've got the answers to all these questions, and we're able to automate that, rather than have the staff kind of relying on, sending out forms and scanning them in and generally kind of doing a lot of messing around. So that's one half of the equation.
Really nice.
And the other half of the equation is actually in terms of taking offers. So it amazes me so if you go on to kind of the next slide, it amazes me in the industry how we basically play talking telephones over, hundreds, if not millions of pounds worth of offers.
Yeah.
So my philosophy is, look, Simon, this is a wonderful conversation, and yes, I think that figure you've got a really good chance of getting it, but I can't put it towards my client until you filled out this form. So and then if you were to fill the form out, there's a signature on the back end of it.
So if we go down there,
yeah, so you can't get to page 3, unfortunately, until you filled it all out. But moral of the story is, it's not a legally binding signature, but if you want to think it is, that's fine. So where I'm coming from is, I'm saying, right, if all my vendors are legally prepared, and if all my purchasers have given me an offer in writing using their words, not mine. So if we're over the phone, and you ask me a straight question, if I've got cash, I'm not lying, am I? But I don't know how I can put that on that form.
Yeah.
And you not kind of go, I think we've got a problem here. So at which point I've got to say, well, yeah, I have got some cash, but I'm also going to need a mortgage and sell my house.
Yeah.
So the art of agency is in the negotiation, but the science is, look, you just got to fill the form out to get to base camp, really.
And as long as you preempt that, communicate that effectively, yeah, the vast majority of people are absolutely fine with it, aren't they? I think the other thing is, and you've done a really good job here, Neil and Mike, with this. It does look. I don't know why I'm surprised, but it looks really, really clean, concise. You know, it's almost like it is begging to be filled out. If you get the, I'm not quite sure why it looks, you know, quite so clean and everything else. But that's quite important, isn't it? Because when a lot of the time I've seen, you know, even some quite big players doing the DocuSigns, the Adobe EchoSigns, it does feel like you're entering into a legal agreement to sell your soul or something like that. This is just feels like it's proactively encouraging you to fill in stuff to help yourself out.
Yeah,
and it's got to be easy because we want people just to fill it in the first place. But so things like making it much sure it's mobile compliant and elements like that just go a long way to just taking them 2 minutes and they're done it. Yeah, it's done.
And what would you, are you getting ideas back from agents in terms of other areas that they see this being used as well? Is this going to just keep kind of developing ever onwards with the kind of forms filling that can be catered for?
Definitely, yeah. We've got a roadmap back into lettings again, and pretty much at every. Like I say, if you're going to do things more than once, like I say, it's a process and it's a checklist. So if we can put a questionnaire in there that needs populating, that is pre-formatted, we can raise standards. If you've got multiple branches, you've got continuity. And if we can outsource red tape and actually empower our salespeople to be, you know, top paid, top class salespeople, and all the admin is basically automated, then everybody wins really, because the public will have a better experience with agents because they've got the answers to the questions and they've got the time to deal with them as well.
Well, I'm shamelessly nicking outsource red tape as my new favourite phrase. That's a great one to you know, we should all be doing that any opportunity we can do, shouldn't we?
Totally. Well, we've all seen Roger Martin Fagg's webinars about, you know, the employment market going forward, and there's it's going to be a challenge. So we've got to automate that, haven't we?
Absolutely is. Well, look, that's really good. Thank you. It gives so much more context when we can obviously see that as well. Right, guys, thank you very much for that. I feel like I know a lot more about it. Obviously, anyone in the industry, I don't know, potentially is overwhelmed with business at the moment. Feels like you should be giving these guys a phone call. So, Mike, Leon, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Cheers, Simon. Thank you.
Cheers. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.